She walked onto that small-town stage with dirt still under her fingernails and terror in her eyes. For 18 years, Emma Grace Thompson had kept the most incredible secret hidden in an old red barn. Nobody in Cedar Falls, Tennessee had ever heard her sing. Not her parents, not her teachers, not a single soul. But on August 15th, 2019, everything changed. In 3 minutes and 47 seconds, a shy farmer's daughter would deliver a performance so earth-shattering that grown men wept. Phones started recording, and by morning, the entire world would know her name. This is the true story of the girl who proved that sometimes the most powerful voices belong to those who've never spoken up. And trust me, you've never heard anything like this before. Picture this: Cedar Falls, Tennessee. Population 1,847. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody, where the biggest excitement all year is the county fair, and where dreams feel as distant as the city lights twinkling on the horizon. The Thompson farm sits on 200 acres of rolling hills, where corn whispers secrets to the wind, and the morning mist clings to fence posts like cobwebs. For 3 generations, the Thompsons have worked this land with calloused hands and stubborn hearts. Jake Thompson, Emma's father, was a man of few words but deep convictions. "Land don't lie," he'd always say, wiping sweat from his weathered brow. "You give it your all, it gives back." His wife, Catherine, was the heart of their small world, always humming while she cooked, always finding reasons to smile even when the harvest was poor. And then there was Emma Grace, 18 years old, with hair the color of autumn wheat and eyes that held secrets deeper than the well behind their farmhouse. See, Emma was what folks in Cedar Falls called peculiar quiet. Not shy exactly, but selective. She'd help customers at Thompson's farm stand with a gentle nod and a warm smile. But ask her a question, and you'd get maybe 3 words in response. Teachers had long given up trying to get her to participate in class discussions. Even her own parents had accepted that their daughter just preferred the company of silence. But here's what nobody knew. Not her parents, not her teachers, not a single soul in Cedar Falls. Emma Grace Thompson had been blessed with a voice that defied explanation. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., while the world still slept, Emma would slip out to the old red barn at the far edge of their property. This barn, built by her great-grandfather in 1952, had become her secret sanctuary. The walls, weathered and worn, held acoustics that seemed almost magical. And there, surrounded by bales of hay and shafts of golden morning light, Emma would sing. She'd sing the old hymns her grandmother had hummed while churning butter. She'd sing the country classics that drifted from her father's radio in the fields. She'd sing the pop songs she'd heard in passing cars, transforming them into something entirely her own. Her voice, rich, powerful, with a vibration that seemed to come from her very soul, would fill that empty barn like honey filling a jar. But the moment she heard footsteps approaching, the moment she sensed another human presence, Emma would fall silent. It was as if her voice was a wild bird that could only sing when no one was watching. Years passed this way. Emma graduated high school, quietly of course, and took on more responsibilities at the farm. She helped her mother with the books, assisted her father in the fields, and every morning she continued her secret concerts in the old red barn. The other young people in Cedar Falls were leaving for college, for cities, for bigger things. But Emma seemed content with her small world, her quiet life, her hidden gift that no one would ever discover. Until the summer of 2019. That year, the Cedar Falls County Fair was in trouble. Attendance had been dropping for years as young folks left town and entertainment options expanded. The fair committee, desperate to draw a crowd, decided to try something new, a singing competition with a $5,000 cash prize, money that could change a family's life in a town like Cedar Falls. Catherine Thompson saw the flyer at Mitchell's General Store and felt something stir in her heart. She thought about Emma, about the way her daughter's lips would move silently when music played on the radio, about the light in her eyes when she listened to the church choir. "Emma Grace," she said that evening over dinner. "There's a singing contest at the fair this year. Big prize money." Emma's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Her father looked up from his mashed potatoes. "Singing contest?" Jake grunted. "Who in tarnation around here can sing?" Catherine kept her eyes on her daughter. "Maybe it's time we found out." Emma felt her cheeks burn. The very thought of singing in front of people, in front of the entire town, made her stomach twist into knots. She shook her head quickly, went back to eating. But that night, lying in her narrow bed with moonlight streaming through gingham curtains, Emma couldn't stop thinking about it. $5,000. That could fix the roof on the barn, could help with her father's medical bills from his back surgery, could maybe, just maybe, give her the courage to finally share the gift she'd been hiding all these years. The days leading up to the fair were torture for Emma. She walked past the old red barn and feel her voice calling to her. But every time she thought about the contest, about standing on a stage with hundreds of eyes watching her, her throat would close up tight. Meanwhile, word had spread about the singing competition. Cedar Falls was buzzing with excitement. Amanda Sue Watson, who'd been in the church choir for 15 years, was practicing Amazing Grace every chance she got. Tyler Jenkins drove all the way to Nashville to buy a new guitar, convinced this was his shot at stardom. Even old Pete Morrison dusted off his harmonica, figuring he had as good a chance as anyone. But nobody, and I mean nobody, expected Emma Grace Thompson to enter. The morning of the fair dawned bright and clear. Emma helped her parents load their truck with fresh corn, tomatoes, and her mother's famous peach preserves for their booth at the fair. As they drove through town, she could see the colorful tents and banners, hear the distant sound of carnival music. Her heart was hammering so hard she was sure her parents could hear it. They set up their booth near the main stage where the singing competition would take place that evening. All day, Emma watched as contestants signed up as people speculated about who might win. She served customers at their booth with shaking hands, barely able to concentrate on making change. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shade of amber and rose, the competition began. One by one, contestants took the stage. Some were good, some were, well, less good, but each one had something Emma didn't. Courage. The crowd was smaller than expected. Maybe 200 people scattered across hay bales and folding chairs. But to Emma, it might as well have been Madison Square Garden. By 8:30, most of the contestants had performed. Amanda Sue Watson had delivered a solid rendition of her hymn. Tyler Jenkins had impressed folks with his guitar skills, even if his voice cracked on the high notes. The judges, the mayor, the bank president, and the high school music teacher were tallying their scores. "Last call for contestants," announced Marcus Patterson, the fair's MC. "Anyone else want to try their luck?" Emma's mother reached over and squeezed her hand. "Honey," she whispered, "I don't know where this feeling is coming from, but I have a powerful sense that you need be up there." Emma's father, who had been quiet all evening, suddenly spoke up. "Emma Grace, I hear you sometimes." Both women turned to stare at him. "In the mornings," he continued, his weathered face serious, "when I'm checking the fence line behind the barn, I hear something beautiful." He paused, looked directly at his daughter. "I always wondered if it was you." Emma's eyes filled with tears. Her secret wasn't as secret as she'd thought. Going once. Marcus called from the stage. Emma's mother stood up, gently pulling her daughter to her feet. "Some gifts aren't meant to be hidden forever, sweetheart." Going twice. And then, as if moved by some force beyond her own will, Emma Grace Thompson found herself walking toward the stage. Her legs felt like water. Her hands were trembling so badly she had to clasp them together, but still she walked. The crowd began to murmur. "Is that the Thompson girl? What's she doing? Emma Grace?" "Really?" Marcus Patterson looked surprised, but handed her the microphone. Well, Emma Grace Thompson. Folks, why you be singing for us tonight?" Emma took the microphone with both hands to keep from dropping it. She looked out at the sea of faces, neighbors, customers, people she'd known her whole life, and felt her throat close up completely. For a long, painful moment, nothing happened. The crowd grew restless. Someone coughed. A baby cried in the distance. Emma closed her eyes, and in that darkness, she found herself back in the old red barn with the morning light streaming through the gaps in the boards. She thought about her great-grandfather building this barn with his own hands. She thought about her parents working this land for decades. She thought about all the mornings she'd sung her heart out to empty stalls and bales of hay. And then, without announcing a song, without any musical accompaniment, Emma Grace Thompson opened her mouth and began to sing. What came out was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but not the version anyone had ever heard before. This was a song reimagined, transformed, infused with every sunrise Emma had witnessed from that barn, every worry about the future, every dream she'd been too afraid to voice. Her voice started soft, almost a whisper, and the crowd had to lean forward to hear. But as the melody climbed, so did her confidence. By the time she reached Somewhere Over the Rainbow, way up high, her voice was soaring, filling every corner of that fairground with a richness and power that seemed to accompany Earth itself. People stopped talking, stopped moving. The carnival games fell silent. Even the crickets seemed to pause their evening chorus. Emma's voice had a quality that's impossible to describe. It was technically perfect, yes, but more than that, it was honest. It was the sound of someone who had spent years perfecting their craft in solitude, who had sung not for applause or recognition, but for the pure love of music itself. As she sang about troubles melting like lemon drops and bluebirds flying over the rainbow, you could see people in the audience wiping their eyes. Her father, Jake Thompson, stood with his hat in his hands, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. Her mother, Catherine, had her hands pressed at her heart as if trying to keep it from bursting with pride. But it wasn't just her family. Amanda Sue Watson, who had been sure she'd win the competition, was crying. Tyler Jenkins had set down his guitar and was staring at the stage in amazement. Even the mayor, a man not known for displays of emotion, was reaching for his handkerchief. When Emma reached the final lines, "Why, oh, why can't I?" her voice broke just slightly, not from lack of skill, but from the overwhelming emotion of finally sharing her gift with the world. The last note hung in the air for what felt like eternity. Emma opened her eyes, suddenly aware again of where she was, of the hundreds of people staring at her in complete silence. And then, as if a spell had been broken, the fairground erupted. The applause started slowly, one person clapping, then two, then suddenly everyone was on their feet, cheering, shouting, crying. It wasn't just polite applause. It was the sound of people who had witnessed something extraordinary, something they would talk about for the rest of their lives. Emma handed the microphone back to Marcus Patterson with shaking hands and started to walk off the stage, but the crowd wouldn't let her go. "More," they shouted. "Sing another one." The judges didn't even need to deliberate. The contest was over. But the real story was just beginning. Someone in the crowd that night had been recording on their phone. By morning, a grainy video of Sarah's performance was making its rounds on social media. By afternoon, it had been shared thousands of times. By the end of the week, major news outlets were calling the farm. Talent scouts were driving down dusty country roads to Millfield, Tennessee. Within a month, Sarah Mae Henderson, the farmer's daughter who had spent 18 years hiding her voice, had been offered recording contracts, appearances on national television shows, and opportunities that would have taken her far from the cornfields of home. But here's the beautiful part of this story. Sarah didn't run toward fame. She didn't abandon everything she'd known for the bright lights of Nashville or Los Angeles. Instead, she chose to bloom where she was planted. She recorded an album, yes, but she did it in Nashville studios while still living at home, still helping with the farm. She performed concerts, but she also sang at church services and community events in Millfield. She used her newfound platform to shine a light on small-town America, on the beauty of simple living, on the importance of staying connected to your roots. The prize money from that night, she used it exactly as she'd planned, fixing the barn roof, helping with her father's medical bills, and setting aside a little for the future. But more importantly, she had finally found her voice in every sense of the word. Today, Sarah Mae Henderson tours the country, but she always comes home to Millfield. Every morning, she still visits that old red barn, though now she's not the only one who knows about her secret sanctuary. Sometimes local kids come by to listen, to learn, to understand that extraordinary gifts can grow in the most ordinary places. And sometimes when the morning mist is just right and the light streams through those weathered boards, you can still hear her singing, not for fame or fortune, but for the same reason she always had, because music was never meant to be kept secret. Closing message. You see, Sarah Mae Henderson's story isn't really about singing at all. It's about courage. It's about the power of believing in yourself especially when nobody else knows what you're capable of. It's about the magic that happens when we stop hiding our gifts from the world. How many of us have our own red barn, a place where we're amazing, talented, passionate, but only when no one else is around? How many of us are sitting on gifts that could change lives, inspire hearts, make the world a little bit brighter, but we're too afraid to share them? Sarah Mae's voice had been perfect for years before anyone heard it, but it only became powerful when she found the courage to share it. Whatever your gift is, whether it's singing, writing, teaching, creating, leading, or something else entirely, the world is waiting. The stage is set. The microphone is in your hands. The only question is, are you brave enough to use your voice? Remember, some of the most extraordinary people in history started exactly where you are right now, in the shadows, in the quiet corners, in the places where dreams feel impossible. But Sarah Mae Henderson proved that impossible is just another word for undiscovered. So the next time you're holding back, the next time you're keeping your gifts hidden in your own red barn, remember the farmer's daughter who stunned America. Remember that your voice matters. Your talent matters. You matter. The world is listening. All you have to do is sing.